So the big question is this: how do young men like us, who didn't listen to society, who are on our own, how do we grow and improve ourselves so that we can live a better tomorrow? That is the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is James Radzinski, and welcome to the Ascend Momentum Show. Welcome back, everyone. So today was actually I was put under the test today and last night. So I don't know exactly how it happened, but I had a terrible stomach ache last night. And I suspect it's because I ate too much too soon, because it was a similar feeling to the stomach aches that I get when I eat too quickly and like too much in too like small of a window. And but yesterday was different from the rest, and it just did not get better. Usually it gets better over time, or at least it's tolerable to the point where I could actually fall asleep at nighttime, and then it gets better in the morning. But last night when I went to bed, it got worse and worse and worse, and I was like just laying there in bed, and it felt like in the moment I was just laying there trying to like fall asleep and tough it out, but it was just getting worse and worse until eventually it just felt like 5 minutes had passed by, or no, it just felt like maybe 20 to 30 minutes had passed by. But eventually I got up because the pain was so like great, and I got up to like go outside to try and like get some breath, like get some fresh air. And I went outside, and it turned out that it was like an hour and a half had passed. I was literally just laying there in my bed for an hour and a half. And so that was like, I don't even know how that happened, because I didn't fall asleep. I was just laying there trying to tough out the time trying to fall asleep because my stomach hurt so bad. And then I woke up, or not woke up. Got up and went outside to get some fresh air, and it was like 9 o'clock at this time. And then or no, it wasn't even 9. It was like 8 at this time. And then after that, I was just outside trying to throw up, because I wanted to throw up whatever this stomach ache was, and I couldn't throw up. So then I went in my bathroom and tried to sit on the toilet, and I just went back and forth for like 30 minutes, and nothing was helping until eventually I was able to poop out a tiny little bit. And then somehow that allowed me to like my after I did that, I was able to fall asleep because my stomach got a little bit better from that. So I don't know how that happened, but that's what happened last night. And then this morning it was fine. My stomach kind of felt a little sensitive, but it didn't hurt. And then I definitely felt it, like I felt it begin the process again today during school. And then by the time I got home, it got pretty bad. And then I ate lunch, but I didn't eat my whole normal lunch. I just had the 1 1/3 pounds of burgers. Usually I have 1 1/3 pounds of burgers and 2 chicken breasts, but I cut out the chicken breast because I didn't want to stuff my stomach full just in case like I was going to have another stomach ache again. And so I just ate the burgers, and then I had an even worse stomach ache. And at this point, I was just trying to tough it out, and I was just laying on my couch, just staring at the ceiling, trying to tough it out. And then it got so bad that I remembered that people don't people don't tell other people like their problems just to tell them. They tell other people their problems so that the other person can kind of sit in the mud with them and kind of help them through the situation. So I was in a very crappy, like, or not crappy, but I was in a very bad stomach ache. So I was just not enjoying myself at that time. And then, but at that time, even last night, I didn't tell my parents or anyone. I didn't tell anyone that I had a stomach ache. I was just trying to tough it out on my own. And then I remembered that if you like, it helps if someone else sits in the mud with you. And so I like got up and then asked my mom to come outside because I needed more fresh air. And this was a couple hours ago. And then I needed more fresh air, and I was just like, I told my mom that I had a stomach ache, and then she just sat in the mud with me. She didn't like tell me anything. She just like tried to she tried to help me through it. And that's exactly what you need. Like that's exactly whenever someone tries to like whenever someone tells you about something that's bothering them, all they really want is for you to sit in the mud with them. And that's exactly what my mom did. I'm very grateful because I was just like sitting out there trying to throw up. I almost threw up. I got like that very watery mouth, but didn't throw up. And then I went back in the bathroom, tried to use the bathroom, didn't use the bathroom. And then like throughout this whole experience, I was reminding myself of this one sentence that I read in Transurfing. Change your relationship to the problem. You choose whether you suffer or delight. And so I was just reminding myself that I choose whether I suffer or delight. And then I was also reminding myself of the sickness pendulum and then the healing pendulum. Most people play the sickness game, like, oh, I'm sick. And then when they get back after being sick, after being out from school for a little bit, they're like, oh, I was sick. But the healing pendulum, the healing game is basically, I'm healing, or, oh, I just healed. Like it's so much better to play the healing game than the sickness game. And so I was just reminding myself that I'm healing. Like this is what healing feels like. And then it was the craziest thing because yesterday the stomach ache lasted all night, but then today, right after I was sitting in the bathroom trying to throw up and use the bathroom, like somehow my stomach ache just slowly started to dissipate. And then I went back into my room because at this time I was writing out my review for the Transurfing Principles, because I'm going to have a Transurfing Principles episode soon. Maybe the next episode, maybe in like 4 days. I don't know. It depends on how it's all playing out, because usually I do the Transurfing Principles on days where I don't go to the gym, and today was my rest day. So I'm going to the gym tomorrow, and I'm going to the gym for the next 3 days. So I might be able to, I doubt it. I doubt I'll be able to like stick it in to this. Like I won't be able to do the next episode because it's already 3:30, and by the time I'm done recording this episode, it'll be 4:30, and then I'll have to edit, and then it'll be 5 o'clock, and 5 o'clock is when I go to bed, or 5 o'clock is when I start my nighttime routine. So I won't be doing Transurfing Principle anytime soon, unless I'm able to get back to the gym like really quick over the next couple days. But that's what I was doing today in my room. I was just reviewing back all of the notes for the Transurfing Principles, and that took like maybe 2 hours, I think. Took a decent amount of time. And then, but I had to stop in between to try and throw up because my stomach hurt so bad. But then once I got back, like I went back to resume and finish it up, and my stomach was completely healed. Like right now, as I'm speaking, which is like maybe 1 to 2 hours after this whole situation happened, my stomach does not hurt at all. And I just tried to do the vacuum and it kind of hurt a little bit, but other than that, I'm chilling. Like I'm straight up, like healed. So I don't know what it was, but I'm very grateful that I'm not have a stomach ache because that is not a good experience. But that's like the whole thing. Don't succumb to the pendulum. Like that stomach ache was a very strong pendulum, and I could have succumbed to it and then just sat there in my misery and just sat there in despair. Or I could have taken charge of my own reality, taken charge of my situation, and changed my relationship to it and played the healing game. And I did all that, and it ended up very nicely for me. But that's basically what happened just now. But I also want to talk about I want to talk about the gateway process. So if you're not familiar, I've been talking about this for the past like 2 weeks maybe on my podcast. And I've been obsessing over it because I know that this is like the next stage of my life, and it'll help me uncover like more to life. Reading books is all about learning to like being able to learn and kind of understand maybe that there's more, but meditating will actually allow me to see it, feel it, know it, and experience it, that there's more. So that's pretty much why I'm doing the gateway process, because it's like it uses hemisync, which basically allows your brain to synchronize. So you have a left side and the right side of your brain, and in transurfing terms, the left side is the mind and the right side is the heart. And hemisync is basically a specific way that they play noises through your left and your right ears in the gateway experience. And it basically synchronizes your left and the right side of your brain, which is the heart and the mind. So it allows you to get into pretty deep meditation that would have taken years of practice otherwise. And I've only been practicing for, actually tomorrow is 1 week. Today is Monday as of recording this, and I got the disc. I got the disc in the afternoon on last Tuesday. So it's been 6 days, and I only used it once on Tuesday. And then ever since then, I've been using it at least 2 times. And for the past couple days, I've been doing it 3 times. And I plan on continuing with 3 times every day, because I find that 3 times is extremely beneficial. And that's another thing I wanted to say. When I do my Transurfing Principles episode, usually I just do back to back. I record the day's episode once, which takes an hour. And then I go upstairs, use the bathroom real quick. And then I record the Transurfing Principles right after, which takes another hour. And then I edit them both like back to back afterwards. But I was thinking of maybe doing the Transurfing Principles. So I was thinking of doing the same kind of order, except dividing it with meditations. So I might have to wait until the weekend to do this, so I have more time because of school. What I would do is I would meditate first and then record my day's episode, which is like a normal episode like today's. And then afterwards, I would go back upstairs and meditate again. So that would be my 3rd session for that day so far. And then I go downstairs and record the Transurfing Principles episode. And then I would edit them all. And then I would do my 4th meditation for the night, my normal meditation. So I was thinking of whenever I do back to back, I do that, because after I found that before, because I've done back-to-back episodes a few times now, and I find that they fry my brain, and I feel like the second episode is a little lower quality than the first one, and I don't really want that. I want them all to be good quality, and so I am going to try and get a meditation right before, the second one so I can kind of refresh my brain and kind of get it back to optimal condition so that I can crank out another hour-long episode. That's what I was thinking of doing. I'll let you guys know what I actually do in the future once I actually do the back-to-back episodes. And the reason why I'm doing the back-to-back episodes is because next week I actually leave. So next Tuesday in in 8 days, I think. Is it 8 days? Yeah, 8 days I leave for Florida. I'm going to Florida for 5 days with my friend Franklin, and we're going to Funnel Hacking Live, which is a event for entrepreneurs, basically, put simply. And that's basically what I'm going to do in 8 days. And right now I only have 5, once this episode goes live, or not live, but once I schedule this episode, then I'll have 5 episodes scheduled, and I want to have 7 episodes scheduled for Florida just in case I'm unable to either record or upload episodes during at Florida. And that's basically why I'm doing that, because I want to be prepared just in case I can't, and I want to be able to still upload consistently. But in case I can, I will record at Florida, and I plan on bringing my microphone, and I actually am going to buy an adapter because my friend is going to bring his MacBook, and I'm going to buy an adapter for the microphone for the MacBook so I can record on his computer just in case. I didn't forget about getting my own MacBook, but I feel as though I still have internal work to do, because as we're getting closer and closer, I'm not sure if it's possible, but I know anything is possible. But the fact that I am unsure right now just shows that I still have internal work to do. And for context, I declared that I was going to get a MacBook a couple of weeks ago, and I declared that I was going to have a MacBook for Florida, but obviously I still have internal work to do because I'm unsure if that is actually going to happen, but I'll make it work. But this was a whole side tangent for the actual thing that I was trying to talk about. I was trying to talk about the gateway process, and I gave the context for the gateway process earlier, and then I went on a whole side tangent. But that side tangent aside, my original intention was to give context about the gateway process and then talk about how I found another document. So lately a few weeks ago, I was obsessing over this gateway process, and I've told the story many times. I think I told it yesterday as well. I told the story many times of how I came about the gateway process. So if you want to hear that story, just go to yesterday's episode. I think it was in there, but it'll be in recent episodes. So I'm not going to tell the story again because I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again, even though I do that many times. But I've been obsessing over it, and I've been finding all kinds of articles and PDFs. And the first one I found was a CIA document. There was a few CIA documents that I found, declassified CIA documents, and then I always print them out at school and then read them on paper. And so that's basically what I've been doing. I've been printing out documents and then reading them. And I've probably found 6 documents. I've talked about all of them so far in my podcast. I don't know if it's actually 6. It's a decently high number. I found a decent amount of documents. And today I actually found another document, which is not necessarily about the gateway process itself. I don't think. I haven't read it, but it's definitely about this topic. And what this topic is, I am not sure yet because I'm just getting into this stuff. It's all about getting higher states of awareness and discovering your like true self or discovering reality. I don't even know. Like I'm still learning about this stuff. But this new document that I found is 150 pages long, and it's basically like a book. And it's called The Seven Resonant Colors. And it's like an interpretation by Mirinen or something like that. Just look up Seven Resonant Colors, and it'll probably be like the first one. But I found that, and I found that last night actually, and I emailed it to my school account, my school email account, with the intention to print it all out because it's in color and it's 150 pages long. So it would be the longest thing that I printed at my school. But I mean, the resources are there for me to use it, so I might as well take full advantage of them. And so I was going to print it out at school, but when I clicked on the link that I emailed myself, it was actually blocked. And it was blocked for a very weird reason. It was like violence and extremism. So I don't know why it was blocked for that. The school has a weird like network. I doubt I didn't read it, but I don't think it's about that stuff. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually just going to go on, after this episode is done, I'm going to go on my home computer and copy and paste the entire document onto a Google Docs and then print it out from Google Docs, because the Google Doc wouldn't be blocked, so I'd be able to access it on my computer, because I have to be able to print it from my school computer, which means I have to be able to access it from my school computer. So I had to figure out some way to work around the fact that it was blocked. And that's what I just decided to do. So I decided to do that. But I also found that was today. And then once I realized that it was blocked, I was trying to find a different website that had the same document that was not blocked. And I was unsuccessful in that attempt, but I did find a different document that I don't know what it's called. I think it was like, and it is about energy. And I'm not even sure if it's even about what I'm learning, but I printed that out also. It was like 20 pages long. And then, but it was like on a website. So I had to copy and paste all of that stuff onto a Google Doc and then print out the Google Doc. And then I also found another one. I actually found this last one before I found the 23-page long one. But this other one was a slideshow. I didn't print it out, but it was just like a slideshow on this weird kind of like knockoff Google Slides website. And it said it was like outdated, but I was able to see the content on it. And it was basically like a 10-page long slideshow. And it was speaking on how all religions are false except for Buddhism, because Buddhism allows you to actually discover the true inner truth. And I read through that entire slideshow, and it was talking about like different focus levels, kind of, where focus like 1 through 7 is plants. Like that's basically their awareness level. They're not very aware. And then focus, like, I don't know the actual numbers. I'm just giving a general outline of what I kind of remember. And then focus like 7 through 14 is animals. And as we know, animals are not necessarily aware of their existence either, or their like place in the world. And then focus 15 through like 21 is humans focus, or like humans awareness. Now humans are aware of where they're at, because they're aware of like their place in the world. So they're more aware of humans. But then there was like 30 more focus levels. So there was like 50 focus levels. So once you get to human, which we're human, so I'm probably on like focus 15, then there's like 35 more. No. Yeah, 35 more focus levels. So there's 35 more levels of awareness. And they kind of described the slideshow described all of the focus levels. And I'm actually going to tomorrow when I print out the 150 page long packet, I'm actually going to print out the slideshow as well because I want all of this stuff on paper. And I want to have all of this stuff on paper because I don't like reading stuff on a screen. It's like it's better to read it on paper because I get to annotate it and it's just better on paper. Like that's another reason why when I was first starting reading, like 1 year ago, I started reading 1 year ago, like literally last year, September is when I started reading. And when I got into it, probably in like, when I realized I was into it in like late September or October, I was deciding whether I wanted to buy a Kindle. And I'm pretty sure a Kindle is basically like a book, but it's like an iPad, but it can hold all of the books. So you can buy books really cheaply on it, and then it's just one device that holds all the books. And I was deciding whether I wanted to buy a Kindle or not, and I decided not to because I feel like reading is so much better on paper. You get way more out of it on paper. And it kind of feels fake if it's online. That's just my experience. And everyone makes their own choice. And that's not the right choice per se. There is no right choice for that. But that's just the choice that I made based off of my experiences. And so that's why I didn't get the Kindle. But that's also why I'm printing all this stuff out, because I don't want to read it online. And plus I want to be able to kind of go back to it at will and just have it physically and be able to like touch it and like turn the pages physically and all that stuff. I just like it way more. I just learn way more better. And plus I can like hold it in different positions because you can't necessarily like fold a screen. Like I like to be able to fold and just like bend the pages to fit my needs at the time. Like if I'm sitting in a weird spot or whatever. But that's pretty much why I do that. But that's my plan. I'm going to print out that slideshow and the 150 page long document because I really think that the 7 resonant colors has a lot to it. Because that's kind of what that slideshow was talking about. And I'm also going to investigate a little bit more about that slideshow and try and figure out like who wrote it and what they're up to because I liked the way they spoke. But that's pretty much it for that. But I want to talk more about the meditation, the gateway experience. And lately I've been meditating 3 times a day, once in the morning in my morning routine, once before the podcast, and then once at nighttime in my nighttime routine. And then today, well, actually, let me explain this. 1 week ago is when I got it. 6 days ago, I got wave 1. So it's like 8 waves, and wave 1 has 3 CDs in it, and each of those CDs has 2 exercises, which are like 30 to 45 minutes long. So there are 6 exercises in wave 1, and I've been taking my time doing each exercise like multiple times until I'm comfortable with it and want to move on. And so I actually made it to the last exercise today. But let me explain. So last night, I actually got to the second to last exercise. So I switched to the last CD, which had the last 2 exercises on it. And I did the last one. And the last one is all about exploring sleep. So I decided that it was best to do that one in the mornings and at nighttime, because in the mornings is a good time to do that exercise because it'll get me a very well restful sleep in the morning, like a nice nap right before I start the day. But also at nighttime, it'll be good so I can be prepared for that sleep for nighttime. So that's what I'm going to do then. But I only did it that second to last exercise, the one about exploring sleep, discovery number 5, last night once and then this morning once. And I decided not to do it before this podcast because I didn't want to be like sleepy right before the podcast. Even though I wasn't necessarily sleepy this morning after doing it, I was actually refreshed, but I didn't want to do that one because it's meant for sleep and I didn't want to like build bad habits or whatever. So I decided to move on to the last one, which was it's discovery number 6, which is called Free Flow Focus 10. And it's just basically they basically play all of the focus, like the noises required, or not required, but the noises most optimal for you to achieve Focus 10. They play those noises in that, and you basically get to do whatever you want. Like, they don't give you a structure. They just say, in the beginning, they just say, do your preparatory practices, which is like your resonant energy conversion box, or energy conversion box, and then resonant tuning, and then resonant energy balloon, and then your affirmation, and then enter Focus 10. And then a couple minutes later after doing that, Bob Monroe says, now do your like purpose, the reason why you're here. And then after a while, he says that same thing again. And then after another while, he ends like the session and says to wake up. But I did that once just now for the first time, and that's probably the exercise that I'm going to do for now on until wave 2 comes, because this wave 1 is all about Focus 10. And when I first started, I think I was able to get Focus 10, but it just was not that deep. Because my interpretation of things, and I've come to learn that many people have different interpretations of the focus levels, and everyone's experiences are different. So my interpretation is basically, once you get that sensation in your hands where you kind of like it's relaxed, and the sensation I feel is like kind of like a surreal sensation. It doesn't feel like how they are normally. It just feels like they're extremely stimulated, I guess. I can like feel them very well. But then again, I can also like that's what I was feeling in the beginning. And I think that's Focus 10 is just weak. It's a weak state of Focus 10. And then I realized that I was probably in Focus 10, but it was just weak. And so I understood that it just comes with practice. Like, you just improve your situation with practice. And so that's what I did. I just practiced for 6 days, and I've gotten to the point, today was actually my deepest meditation. And that's usually what happens after every single meditation. It's usually my deepest. It just gets like deeper and deeper every single time. But today was like truly the deepest by a decent amount, because I was reading someone else's interpretation of Focus 10, and they were basically saying that once you there's like a part where you're getting those, that sleep paralysis, and then right after that, like a couple minutes later, is once you're entered Focus 10. That was someone else's interpretation. And so today I was getting into Focus 10, and then I got in so deep that I was actually starting to not be able to feel my hands. Like, I wasn't, eventually, like towards the end, I was only able to notice like my hands or my body once I placed my attention and focus onto them. And even then I was still like not able to feel all of the like stimulus or the sensory inputs from my like body parts. And so that was the deepest I've ever gotten, because I was just laying there and my hands were just like starting to actually go limp. They were actually like, there was one point of time where my hands just like fell because they like lost their support because they were starting to go limp. And so that's a good sign because I'm only 6 days in and I've got another 7 days until wave 2 comes. So I basically have another 7 days to practice. Well, I have more than 7 days if I want, but basically until I'm basically have to practice wave 1 for another 7 days. So if I've gotten this far in 6 days, if I double this amount of time of practice, I imagine that I'll get a way further. And that's another thing. In the 5th discovery, the one I started last night, about exploring sleep, I'm pretty sure that got into Focus 11 because I didn't learn about Focus 11. The only time I've ever heard of Focus 11 was in the YouTube video that I watched a little while back about this guy did the Gateway Experience for 1 year. And he was talking about Focus 11. And then I kind of forgot about it because I didn't hear of Focus 11 at all in the Gateway process. And so I forgot about it. But then yesterday during yesterday and this morning during that CD number 5 about exploring sleep, they have you get into Focus 10 and then you kind of imagine yourself rolling like a log and then you imagine yourself floating. I don't think you imagine yourself, you just do. Like you just float up into the air. And I think that's Focus 11. Now, I wasn't able to actually achieve that state. I assume that you have to get into a deep Focus 10 to be able to get that state. But I think that wave 1 still has like a lot to explore for me because I've really just been focused on getting down to a deep Focus 10 because that's what I really wanted. And I knew that that's what you need for a good foundation. You need to build a good, strong foundation to be able to get into Focus 12 during Wave 2. Because Focus 12 is what I really am striving for. Because that's where you can do a lot of awesome things. And I'm not really sure exactly what, but I know that there's a lot to it. Like your visualization is a lot like stronger, which will be awesome. And so that's what I'm really excited for, to get into Focus 12. But that's pretty much where I'm at with the meditation. But let me get some water. I actually remembered to bring my water bottle down today. All right, so I was drinking water, and usually I take that opportunity to come up with another thing to say. But to be honest, I completely forgot. I forgot about that. My mind went blanked. So as a result, I started talking. But I actually came up with something to say, and my mind is so much more clear. Like 6 days in to meditating with this HemiSync, and I'll say this stuff is legit. Like this stuff is the real deal, and this stuff definitely helps. I spent $200 to get this first wave, and it was 100% worth it. Like I would have spent $2,000 if I had the money. Like this stuff is so worth it, and my focus is so good, and I'm sure you guys can tell my focus is so much better because I think that my podcasting really reflects how well my focus levels are, because even like that one day, so I talked about this a lot lately, but pretty much one of the markers that I use to kind of measure how well I performed in that specific episode is on my editing software. It actually counts like how many silences you have, and it can remove them. I never remove them, but I like to see the number. And usually I get like 300 to 400. But then the first day that I meditated before my podcast, I got 211, which was a record. and it still is a record. I was not able to beat it over the past couple days, but I have still maintained 200. I've maintained that 200. I haven't gone back up to 300, which is promising. But pretty much that I was saying about how I just got a hair in my mouth. That's disgusting. But pretty much I was saying that I'm pretty sure my focus levels, and I know that my focus levels reflect on my podcast episodes, because after that first day of meditating before my podcast, I got 211, which was a record of silences. And ever since then, I've stayed lower than I've ever been. Before I started meditating beforehand. So meditating has cleared my mind, and I definitely find that I'm so much more aware and awake during the day. I'm awake way more during the day. And in Transurfing, the book Reality Transurfing, he actually says that this is not this is not like your normal self-help book where you have to change yourself to achieve success. This is a book on, you don't need to change yourself, you don't need to meditate or anything. Now, I agree in that sense where you don't need to change yourself, but I don't think that it's necessarily changing yourself if you meditate. I think that meditation is extremely beneficial, and I don't know if he meant it like this or if this was just the translation or just my interpretation of it, but I kind of felt like he shined a dark light on meditation and like not necessarily self-improvement, but just like he basically said, or my interpretation of things were that meditating was changing yourself. But I disagree, and I'm sure that he didn't mean it like that because it was translated. And also I am a brand new like reader to this stuff, so I don't really know I don't know 100%. I don't understand 100% of the things. So, but pretty much I took it as that. But I kind of understood that my own values were meditation was good. And I definitely agree. I think that meditating with the HemiSync is such a great tool to use on your journey, because like I said earlier today, reading is all about like destroying your worldview and building up a new one, but it's all about kind of allowing you to learn and be open and learn about all new things that you never knew of before. So it allows you to discover a bunch of new truths. But then meditation allows you to kind of cleanse your mind, focus up, and then with this HemiSync, with deep meditation, you're able to get into such deep meditation that you can actually experience, understand, learn, and do all of this stuff that you're learning about. And meditation also allows your mind to become more effective at becoming a transurfer, because the HemiSync is all about unifying the left and the right side of the brain, because the way they do it is through playing one noise on the right ear and then one noise at a slightly different frequency in the left ear, and then your whole brain basically plays makes a stimulus of the difference between the two. So let's say the left ear has 100 and then the right ear is like 124 hertz. Then the whole brain will basically unify and play a 24 hertz noise. And that's basically what the HemiSync does. It's called hemispheric synchronization. So it synchronizes both hemispheres of your brain. And as I've come to learn from the science, the left side of the brain is the mind in transurfing terms, and the right side is the heart. And so what HemiSync strives to do is it's a tool to unify your heart and the mind. And that's all about transurfing. Unify the heart and the mind. Now, I think that if you just focus on transurfing and that's it, and focus on like kind of doing what I was doing a couple weeks ago, just brute force, I think maybe you'll find No, I can't really speak on it because I was only doing it for a couple months. I think you'll find success, but it will take a long time. But if you want to find like rapid, massive success, then you got to supplement your transurfing like learning, your studying, not supplement, but um in addition to your transurfing studies and learning, also meditate with hemisync because like I just said, it unifies your heart and the mind. And they were also talking about how like in the guide, the manual, like the introduction manual, I printed it out. It's like 43 pages long. And I was reading the first couple of pages in class today, and they were talking a lot about transurfing principles. Now, they weren't actually talking about transurfing, but there was many things that they were talking about that were principles in transurfing and that actually like coincided with transurfing. So meditating with the hemisync is huge for this. And it's like I want to talk about this. I have a friend who is kind of like 1 year behind. He's a junior, and he's basically in a similar place to where I was 1 year ago in that spot, except he's a little bit further ahead in self-improvement, in his self-improvement journey than I was at that time. And I like suggested for him to read Transurfing like maybe a month or two ago, and he never did. And then, but I don't blame him because I wouldn't either, because I didn't really give him a good reason to. And then over time, we were talking more and more about it. And then he got like, he was just learning a lot. And I could tell that he was really interested in this stuff because he kept coming back to learn more. And then I was actually in a conversation with him the other day, like last week, where I actually told him to like pull out his phone and go on Amazon and actually buy the book right now. So I basically kind of like forced him to buy the book, but it was his own will. I just kind of pushed him along there. And then he bought the book and it actually came and he started reading it. So he's basically just starting his journey on transurfing. And I'm really excited to like see how things go for him because in the beginning, I wanted to talk about this. I kind of forgot about this thing that had happened to me. But in the beginning, when I was first learning about transurfing, and I was first reading about it, I was like stressing out a lot. So that may be another reason why I stopped reading it and switched to another book because I couldn't handle it. I kind of forgot about this, and then this like flash of memory came to me today where when I was first starting transurfing, I was so overwhelmed with all of the stuff, and I was at the point where I was actually conscious. Like I'll tell you, I'll walk you through exactly my thought process at the time. I knew exactly that this was the key and this was more. But I also knew that this was like damaging my worldview so much, and I didn't know if I could take it. I didn't know if I could handle it. And I knew that this was the red pill. Like, this is what I did. And I was reminding myself that I've done this before with like the gym and getting like, I've done this before, but not to this extent. Like, this is the hardest. This was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And it was like, I was reminding myself, this is the red pill and this is how you move forward. This is how you move forward and unlock the truth. If I don't do this, then I'll never learn. If I don't learn this stuff, my life will never get any better. And then I think that I kept pushing through, but then over a little bit time, I stopped reading the book, moved on, and then eventually I was kind of set on the right path forward once I told my friend about the book, a different friend, Franklin. And then I moved on and I went back to the book, and then I realized that it was actually good. And then once I got back, I didn't really have these like bad feelings about this because I kind of think here, what I am kind of coming to understand right now is that it's kind of like a skill. And this is what I was touching on a couple episodes back where one of the most valuable skills is the skill to be able to throw out your current worldview and throw out your current beliefs and replace them with new ones. And that's kind of what I learned. Excuse me. That's kind of what I learned when I was first starting transurfing. I was learning, like, I've never done this before. I'd never practiced that skill. And then I think I overwhelmed it by reading a bunch of transurfing. And it's kind of like if I was never gone to the gym before and then I overwhelmed it and went to the gym every single day, worked super hard for like 2 weeks straight, I'd probably get hurt and I'd probably like get off of the gym for like a month. So I think that's kind of what happened for me with transurfing, where I was like kind of like forcing it, and maybe forcing it, but I was just like pushing myself really hard to like destroy my worldview, even though I didn't really realize I was doing it at the time. And then I kind of just, I don't know if I burnt out or if I just needed a rest. And then once I was all healed up, I was able to get back at it. And then I had the skill now that I had the skill and the background knowledge, I was able to finish the book. And now I'm able to keep pushing forward. And now when I experience new things that are outside of my worldview, I have that skill now. So now I haven't experienced that like that exact emotion that I had before, where I was like, actually, I was genuinely stressing out. Like, I remember one time where, now all of this stuff is kind of a fade because it was when I was like very asleep. I was just asleep the whole time during my days. But I remember this one time where I was just like walking down my hallway in my house and I was just like stressing out. I had my hands on my head because I was just thinking like, this is like too much for me. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to handle it all. But thankfully, I'm very grateful for the fact that I was able to push through and actually learn all this stuff. And now I've built the skill. Now I can go on and I feel like nothing can stop me and honestly, I'm sure that there's another thing out there that is similar, that will give me a similar experience. And I'm just really looking forward to having that and be able to push myself even further and test my abilities. Maybe it's even at my fingertips, like all this stuff with the 7 resonant colors and like the 50 focus levels of awareness. Now, I don't even know what this stuff is about. I just read that one slideshow. It was like 7 pages of a Google slideshow. It wasn't on Google Slides. It was on a different slideshow app. But so I don't have any knowledge on this stuff yet, but maybe this is the next step, because I was reading it and like on there. Okay, so it explained the 50 different focus levels of how there's like physical reality and then non-physical reality or something like that. And the first like 21 are all in physical reality. Or no, the first like 30, maybe 33, I think it was. Like the half of it, like first 25. And then once you get to 26 and further, then you're on the non-physical reality. And I am only 18 years old, and I'm very grateful that I'm discovering this stuff now, because if I can, like, the person who wrote that slideshow said that they spent 44 years of their life discovering the truth, and they've already compiled a bunch of the resources and tools for me. So I imagine that it will probably be quicker, but let's just say it does take 44 years of my life. I'll be 62 years old. Now, if I can unlock like total existence and self-discovery at 62 years old, I will take that. Like, and that, I think that's one of the purposes in my life right now, focusing on that. But to switch the topic completely, I want to talk about so for some context, there's this YouTuber that I used to watch named Hamza, and he changed the game for me. I 100% recommend watching his stuff if you're in that position, in that place in your journey. But he's a self-improvement YouTuber, and I haven't watched him in a while, maybe like a month or two, because I haven't been on YouTube. because I've just been focusing on my own journey and progressing myself. And I also know exactly what I need to do to move forward and progress. I've gotten all the tools now, so I don't necessarily need YouTube. But my friend actually showed me Hamza's channel today, and Hamza is recording YouTube shorts now. And he showed me one of his shorts, and that's it. I actually really like what he's doing, because he's basically, I think, this is just what I interpreted. He's basically making a bunch of YouTube shorts to be able to drive traffic towards his real videos, like his unedited stuff. But that one YouTube shorts, he said, was basically all about how, he said, like, what's the purpose of a car? He said, the purpose of a car is to get to a destination. Now, your purpose of the car is not to like get to a gas station and fill it with gas. Like, that's not the purpose of the car. The purpose of the car is to get to a destination. And he said your business is basically your car. It's like the purpose of a business is to get to a destination, to get like to that life of your dreams. It's not to get money. Like, money is just the fuel. The purpose of your business is not to get money. Like, it just, everything makes sense that he said in that one YouTube Shorts video. The purpose of the car is not to get money, or the purpose of the business is not to get money. So you focus on the business and focus on your goal. Like, the business is just a means to get to your goal. It's just a vehicle to get to your destination. So focus on the goal and not the money. And me and my friend were actually talking about that after we both watched that. And he was saying, like, this makes so much sense, because he was like, his goal, his purpose was to help as many people as possible, like, get on self-improvement. That was his purpose. He wasn't focused on the money. He was focused on getting as many people as possible on self-improvement. And that's basically what I think that my goal is to get to move to Hawaii, but I don't really know. But that's another thing I want to talk about. I've kind of felt like tense around my friend, because we usually tell each other like literally everything involving our goals, and we always like disclose our goals and what we're doing to move towards them. But lately I became conscious of the fact, because I've been tense, and I've been like, after I talk about my goals, I kind of feel like inner tension. And then I became conscious of the fact that you should not tell people your plans. Like, you should remain like, act with humility is the word I'm looking for. Act with humility and stay silent. And that's also a transurfing principle, but that's what I was basically doing even before I learned about transurfing. I was acting with humility and staying silent. And then I actually recorded a whole episode on this. It's called like, don't tell people your plans. Now, the whole episode wasn't about just that, just a part of it, but that's pretty much like why today I realize again that I keep on telling him my like things that should be private until I actually achieve it out of habit. And so that's something I have to be conscious of moving forward, because that's a pretty dangerous habit, if I'm going to be honest. It's a bad habit if it's a habit to actually create excess potential, because when you tell someone you're going to acquire something without you having actually acquired it, then you create excess potential. And that's like that. He literally said that in transurfing. So that's pretty much like where I'm at with that. But I'm not going to be able to finish transurfing, I don't think, before I leave for Florida. But I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna try and get like a big study session this weekend, because I have a lot of time this weekend. So I might try and like cram it all in, which may go against like what I was trying to say over the past couple months of studying, but I think it'll be worth it. And that's it for the episode. So to wrap things up, don't forget to download your favorite episodes and subscribe to the Ascend Momentum Show. But before you guys leave, make sure to remember the Eagles.